Can you believe that Mario & Luigi Brothership is literally a month away in just a couple of days? It's pretty insane, and I am super excited for this game. This is honestly one of the most anticipated games I've had in the last couple of years, because as a huge Mario & Luigi fan, I never thought I'd see a day where this game is not only coming to home consoles, but coming to the Nintendo Switch in a brand new game. Not a remake and not a remaster. This is super exciting, but also there's some things to maybe get slightly worried about to see if Nintendo is going to do correctly, especially since there's technically a new team working on this game. Now, the rumors right now are suggesting that there are some past members of Alpha Dream also helping to work on the development of this game, but we're just gonna have to wait and see when the credits roll. Today I came up with 15 things that I think Mario & Luigi Brothership needs to have to be a perfect Mario & Luigi game. Because let's face it, every Mario & Luigi game for the most part is pretty good. Even Paper Jam has some good qualities to it, even though it's probably seen as the worst of the bunch. But with that said, I want this game to be more than just pretty good. I want Mario & Luigi Brothership to be the best Mario & Luigi game hands down. I feel like if Nintendo does these things, then the game definitely will. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Stop what you're doing. A lot of you watching this video are not yet subscribed. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Mario & Luigi Brothership and Nintendo in general. But without further ado, let's dive into the things that I feel like Mario & Luigi Brothership needs to have. Mario & Luigi Brothership needs a dynamic story with unique and original characters and an original villain, and it looks like we have this already. We've already seen glimpses of this villain and his henchmen being the extension core, so it looks like we are definitely getting original characters, and even the little plug NPCs all around the town. Yes, this is awesome, this is exactly what we need, but it needs to have a deep story. I hope it's not just the bad guy stole something powerful and we need to get it back. I hope there's some really cool elements where it also incorporates individual stories based on the individual chapters or islands that we get to visit, each world having its own little story tie into the whole, which is something like games like Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door would do, or Paper Mario 64, where each chapter had its own individual story, but there was still one overarching story that we were trying to accomplish, and I'm hoping that Brothership does something very familiar. And I also hope Bowser doesn't overbear the story as well, because it's definitely happened in the past, where even in Dream Team, I feel like a lot of the story was building up to something exciting, but Bowser would just keep coming in and ruining it because all he wants to do is steal Peach and take over, and I'm just tired of that same story. We just recently had it with two forms of Bowser and Paper Jam as the main stories, so I kind of want to back away from the whole Bowser taking over thing and just give us a unique villain with a unique plot. I hope there's some type of new gimmick to the gameplay, and this is something that could be divisive, and some people might disagree and want just a basic Mario & Luigi experience like Superstar Saga and Partners in Time, but arguably it added more to the gameplay. It actually added more segments to certain levels and worlds and actually make the game longer in the process. Now, as far as what this thing is, I have no clue. I know a lot of people would want to see the giant battles back, like Giant Bowser or even Giant Luigi. I feel like they were done really well. The only thing holding them back was the stylus controls, and obviously on the Switch, that won't be a problem. It'll all be buttons, which is a lot better, and I think it would make these battles a lot more interesting, and they could do a whole lot more with them, specifically on stronger hardware and on a home console. Or they could do something completely different than giant battles, like they went with Paper Jam, which was slightly different, I guess. It was still technically giant creatures fighting each other, but it was paper crafts, and it was handled in a different way, and I actually still did not hate the papercraft battles either. I thought they incorporated something really unique, and I actually did start to look forward to them towards the end of the game, so I'm hoping there's something else in the formula that Nintendo's cooking up besides the basic Mario & Luigi gameplay. Something else I want to see is more puzzles within the overworld. I feel like some Mario & Luigi games really dive deep into these, and some of them try to fill the game with filler things like chasing toads in Paper Jam or Partners in Time, where really it didn't have many puzzles. It was just kind of getting through the areas and hitting blocks with both the older bros and the little bros. So I want more puzzle solving. It looks like we've seen this already, where Luigi almost looks like he can get controlled separately from Mario in certain situations, which makes me think there could be co-op, which would be amazing. But yeah, it seems like there are going to be more things to actually interact with and do. There seems to be some sort of Luigi context sensitive areas where they split and Luigi has to do something or Mario has to do something on his own. So it looks like there are going to be lots of puzzle solving areas and things to do, which is great, and it's definitely needed in a game like Mario & Luigi. Which I'm also just going to throw this in here as well. It looks like puzzle solving does take priority over 2D gameplay, which I'm so glad, because I could not stand the 2D gameplay in Bowser's Inside Story and Dream Team, because I feel like it was hard to dodge enemies if you didn't want to fight them, and you were always put on a linear path, and I just didn't think it meshed well with an RPG. So hopefully it's just more open areas and more puzzle solving instead of those 2D segments. I want challenging boss battles with lots of challenging attacks to dodge, even from the overworld enemies as well. One thing that was always super deflating about a Mario & Luigi game is every now and then just really leveling up and grinding pretty well, and then coming up to a boss that looks pretty cool with some unique attacks, but you don't get to see much of them because you literally 3-shot them because you're so strong. Hopefully there's some way that they can combat this and just make the enemies and bosses a lot more difficult, and make it so that way you can't just level up to powerhouse super quick, and that way it's just not a quick 1-2 punch and the boss is down. I really hope that there's some leveling to it, and there's some ways that they can, you know, have the boss upgrade along with your level, so that way every single time you're fighting a boss, no matter how much you've grinded, it's still going to be somewhat of a battle. And something that I want to see with this is more unique ways to dodge enemy attacks. And that's something that I love about Dream Team and Paper Jam, is how they almost have an open battle arena area for the bros to move around in, especially Dream Team, where there was lots of enemy attacks where they would try to hit you from the side, or hit you from the back, or chase you back and towards the camera, or chase you away from the camera. There's lots of instances like that, and I want to see the whole battlefield arranged like that, where it's not just jumping and using our hammers to dodge, we also have to move around in specific areas. Would be really cool. So maybe there's some unique ways that we have to dodge enemy attacks that we just haven't seen yet. I really hope that there's some type of side story that we can complete. I mean, we keep seeing scenes of Peach doing something with the NPCs, and then we even see now Bowser and Bowser Jr., and the bros seem to be having a casual conversation with them in like Bowser's castle or something. So I am wondering if somehow they're going to be allies, and maybe Bowser and Bowser Jr. are helping the bros, and maybe there's some type of side story where we get to actually play as Bowser. No, not Bowser's minions, nothing like that, but just a regular side story where we could play as Bowser and Bowser Jr., and they are kind of like the bros, and maybe it's not as in-depth or as long as the Mario and Luigi story, but maybe we can play some short missions or something with Bowser and Bowser Jr., which would be so cool. Oh my gosh, they could have their own bros attacks, they could have their own bosses and enemies, and their own little story arc, which would be so perfect. Or even if it's just Princess Peach, you know, something else other than Mario and Luigi would be such a shock, and something that's so awesome for the series. And that point reminded me of another one that's so important. This game needs lots of post-game content. Every single Mario and Luigi game has this thing very similar to the Zelda games, where you get to the final boss, you beat it, and then the game just reloads from the final boss over and over and over again. I want actual post-game stuff to do. There's always some side modes like boss battle arenas and stuff, but no, I want post-game stuff, meaning when you beat the game, new stuff is unlocked. Since this game does seem to be taking us from island to island, maybe each island has some type of new thing or new side mission, or maybe even side quest that we can complete with the NPCs, allowing us to go back into past areas, maybe find some extra stuff, new bosses, new enemies, or maybe some new missions to complete, something to do after the credits roll. I am praying, or some type of post-story that goes on after the final boss, so that way it doesn't just reload in the same boss room every single time you try to start the file back up. Which also reminds me, I hope we do get those bros attack challenges and boss rush modes back, because yeah, those are super fun in every single game for the most part. There's a couple that made me mad for sure. But with that said, these are awesome, and I really do believe that these would be making a return. You know, X versions of all the bosses, or just some type of harder versions of all the bosses for you to go through a gauntlet, and there being some fun secret boss at the end, like having Bowser Jr. at the end of Dream Team and Dry Bowser at the end of Paper Jam. So I'm hoping they do something along those lines, where they can make it some type of really wacky, crazy boss we weren't expecting, or maybe a throwback like Pop from Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga. They could bring back Fawful, which would literally break the internet for Mario & Luigi fans, or they could maybe do something like the Koopalings making a return. But either way, these gave us more challenges, and I think also adding to this would be really cool if they threw in the final boss of the game as well. They never do this because, once again, the game saves right before the final boss, so it never really tells that you beat the final boss. So yeah, I'm hoping that you can beat the final boss, it saves, and we can continue to do stuff afterwards, and that's even incorporated into the boss rush as well. For the bros attack challenges, I really hope they do something like Paper Jam's Attackathon, I believe it was called, where they actually incorporated some new things within the bros attacks, like adding targets or little like achievements that you had to reach, or little cardboard cutouts of characters that you would take out, so that way you could literally see your progress and it wasn't just spamming bros attacks on one enemy. I really did enjoy that, and it made me actually want to achieve a high score in that. I want to see lots of collectibles, or at least a couple collectibles for each world, like beans making a return, or maybe even counting the question blocks once again that you've hit or found, which is something that literally makes you go back and try to find everything if you want to be a completionist. But one thing I haven't seen from combing all the gameplay so far is any bean spots, so I'm hoping beans do make a return. This would be the first game that doesn't have them if it's not, so maybe Nintendo's just hiding them or we just can't see them yet, but I really do hope something like this returns to have us really combing through the areas as much as we can. I hope there is eventually a hard mode option, whether it's from the start or whether it's from after you beat the game and then it opens up a hard mode option, but this is something that's only appeared in Dream Team, and I thought it was good for the most part. It limited the amount of items that you could carry, so you couldn't stash like a billion mushrooms or something like that full of healing items and stuff, but this time I would love to see something like that return, just scaling the enemies again. I think the only hard part really about it in the original with Dream Team was the fact that the giant battles kind of sucked, because if you took 1 ounce damage, you had to recycle through the whole battle, especially with the ones with the stupid gyro controls like Z Keeper and Bowser, which was just terrible. But yeah, I think it would work really good in this game, and I'm hoping that there is some type of difficulty button or switch that we can turn on. I really want to see callbacks and cameos to past games. Like, please don't forget they existed, Nintendo. I would like for characters to mention specific things, or maybe some characters to even pop up, or like I said, maybe at the end of that boss gauntlet, there is a secret character like Popple or Fawful or somebody from the past, so that way they do have some memory of the past games. I hope this isn't just like a fresh series restart where they forget everything that's happened before, so I do hope, at least with the story, some things continue. I also hope there's not some type of dragging beginning. Like, Dream Team start is one of the worst. I mean, it's literally like 2 hours of tutorial gameplay before you really get started, and man, I forgot how bad it was until I recently replayed it. Yes, please, look, there's 5 games in the series right now, not including the remake, so please, Nintendo, remember that there's veteran players out there, and I feel like there is going to be a lot of tutorials since this is the first home console Mario & Luigi game. This is a very big deal for Mario & Luigi, so they might think a lot of people haven't played the game or the series yet, and I get it. That's definitely the case, and I feel like they still need to have some type of way to turn this off. Like, you know, if you're a veteran and you've been playing Mario & Luigi, you can turn off all tutorials, which I really hope is the case. However it works, please don't drag it into the gameplay and the story for like the first 2 hours. Like, there shouldn't be a whole island dedicated to this. Just make it quick and snappy at the beginning of the game and let us just play the game. I hope the final boss is big and done in sequences, and this is something that actually has not happened that much since Partners in Time, really. Yes, Superstar Saga did it to an extent. There was technically 2 phases. If there was ever a 2-phase boss battle in Mario & Luigi games, the first phase was always done in seconds, like Bowletta, and obviously with Bowser and Paper Bowser from Paper Jam. So I hope they go with Partners in Time, which is one of my favorite Mario & Luigi games. That ending is so amazing. It ties into the story perfectly. There's like a 4-phase boss battle where you fight Princess Shroob, then her older sister with Elder Shroob, then a monster version of Elder Shroob, then a spirit ghost form of Elder Shroob. Like, there's so much, and I want something like that. Take a page out of Kirby and do something like that, Nintendo. Let us have multiple segments of build up for a big final fight, or give us something super spectacular like Grand Finale with Bowser's Inside Story and the Dark Star. That was just too good, and that music, you know the music has to be on point. There is one thing I do despise with some of the newer Mario & Luigi games. If there is a boss rush mode, a lot of the times they have recommended levels, and you have to be a pretty high level in order to fight some of these late game bosses. But even with that, there's normally rank up badges that you get, and for Dream Team, the last badge, which was like the rainbow badge, was nearly impossible to get unless you extremely grinded in every single area. I remember having to go back into the dream world and constantly look for golden beanies in order to just level up enough to get that badge. And the same thing was kind of happening with Paper Jam, where I found myself running around the entirety of Neo Bowser's castle, fighting Bruisers, Shy Guys, and Mecha Koopas until I could level up enough to handle some of those bosses in that arena. Please, Nintendo, have a better way of leveling up. If you must have a secret level or a secret badge to level up to, and it's pretty impossible to do with the base game, at least give us a secret island or a special place to go to post-game where there's maybe like a cave or a den full of high XP carrying enemies, so that way we can actually have fun battling different enemies They literally, just think about this, they fill a whole cave with all the different types of enemies throughout the entire game, all mixed together and pushed together, but this time they're just a lot harder and have more XP. That's all they had to do. With that, that allows us to battle some of the past enemies again and have fun with them without going around the same final area over and over and over again to battle the same 3 enemies to level up. Please give us some type of XP island or XP farm to go to for post-game content. That's it. It doesn't have to be main game, just for the end of the game. And if you listen well, you probably get my next point here. It's the same 3 enemies sometimes in every area. Paper Jam is really bad at this, where you'll fight these same 3 enemies over the course of like an hour and a half of exploring a new area, sometimes way more than this. Sometimes you'll be like 3 or 4 hours in a chapter or something fighting the same enemies. Partners in Time, once again, handled this, I thought, pretty well. There's like 3 or 4 enemies in each sub-area of each world, which was pretty cool. But yeah, like I said, with Paper Jam, literally the final castle of the game, you'll be fighting nothing but Mecha Koopas, Shy Guys, and of course, Bruisers. And it's the same 3 enemies. There needs to be more enemy variety and a lot more enemy types in each area. And for the final thing, I would absolutely lose my mind if this was the first Mario & Luigi game that allowed us to play co-op. Normally, I hate co-op. I hate it in Mario 3D World. I hate playing with extra people. I hate it in the new Super Mario Brothers games, even Mario Wonder. I just hate to be intervened with. Like, I want to play the game by myself at my own pace, at my own way, without being bothered by another player. But Mario & Luigi is different. It is a game about 2 brothers. It is a game about controlling 2 brothers in the overworld and in battling, and I think something like this, playing co-op and working together with another person, sounds so fun. I'm just thinking of a whole gameplay session or a playthrough just playing with somebody else rather than playing alone. Sounds like an absolute blast, and I would love to see how that would work. Maybe allowing Luigi and Mario to stay in the same camera area, but just move around freely, and each player is going to have to do their part, whether it be in battling or not, which would be easy to do for battling, just separating the controls of Mario and Luigi to 2 controllers. Man, this sounds like a blast. So I'm really hoping Nintendo does do this. There's some instances where it looks like Luigi's moving pretty separate of Mario in that trailer, so we're just gonna have to wait and see when the game comes out. And that was 15 things that we need to have in a new Mario and Luigi game in order for it to be pretty much perfect. And of course, it's not gonna have all these things. I'll be happy if you even have half of these things. But yes, I do believe this is the chance for Brothership to really take off with the Mario and Luigi series, to make it even more popular than it ever was before. And if you've never played a Mario and Luigi game and may be afraid about RPGs, take it from me. As someone who is definitely not a big RPG fan, it is seriously one of my favorite series and franchises within the entirety of Nintendo. So please give it a try and check it out when it releases on November 7th of next month. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Mario and Luigi Brothership and Nintendo in general. And like always, I'll see you all on the next one. See you guys.